We are live.
Hockey Nation fans, welcome back to the Hockey Nation Live Show with Coach Frenchie in the booth and our co-host directly from the West Coast, California, Michael DeVillano.
Good morning, Pierre.
Hey,
Happy post-Thanksgiving. What's today? It's Cyber Monday.
it's Monday.
There you go.
Crazy. Last day of November 30. And we are going to go today with your Winnipeg Jet as a preview for the upcoming season, or 31 on and 31 for 31 days with 31 different teams. So we are almost at the end because during the process we skipped the Vegas, where we did not know it was a LOLV. We realized this a couple of days ago, so let's wait until the end of the each team. So we decided to go at the end. Tomorrow is going to be the last day of the last team, honestly, the Vegas Golden Knight. And today we have the Winnipeg Jets. And then we're going to switch, Michael, on the protect list player for each team.
Yeah.
For the Seattle, honestly, the 32 team in NHL is coming for the upcoming, not this season, but the following season. And we're going to go back until when the NHL is going to be back, where I don't know, we did not hear anything right now if they're going to start.
Those sound great.
So it's really, like it's start to be boring at some point, honestly. Not many things go around. If you look about all the news, I'm checking Sportnet and DSN all weekend, that NHL Network, and nobody have a lot of things to talk about other the fact just waiting for Batman and NHLPA to decide what is the best. We know Batman is a little bit hard on the players to get another 13% referee money, where it's equal an extra $300 million from the players. So we'll see what this could bring on the table. I don't know if what do you think about that? What do you believe what will happen? But what is your expectation from NHL right now?
I mean, I think that the history of this league is that they're willing to lock out the players. I mean, they're willing to lock out if they don't have the right deal. This is a license to lose money. So I don't see them being super flexible in it. I think that the players have already bought into a cap and a percentage of revenue. And now we're in a situation where it's going to be catastrophically impacted. So I don't know. I think that there's always an appetite in the NHL for not playing. It's annoying, but
yeah, of course we have. It's a season really important because the TV contract with NBC and Rogers is another thing, and then like you said, I think Friday when we left each other here on the Daily Show, we at the end you're talking about the problem where not the first tier of the NHL players, but the second tier, the third tier, where losing money from them, it's really important for them. They cannot afford to losing $1-2 million or $700,000 one day. Like the time in the NHL is shorter to a guy like, I don't know, like Joe Thornton or Patrick Marleau, or we can go with Tyler Seguin or Jimmy Benn, where they play like 10 years and more. And NHL, they make 40, 60, 80 million dollars for their career.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I don't have any name right now, but someone's getting only $3 or $5 million, right?
It's gonna be tough. We have not seen. I mean, we've seen it where they've had full revenue and they've turfed the season.
Yeah.
So now you're in a situation where, are they on the hook for buildings? Are they on, they don't have a defined TV contract. all these networks are probably going to beat them up. I think. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Like, I can see in Canada where the Rogers deal, like they're going to be hungry for programming.
The second thing I will mention to you is like,
I don't know.
the second thing I will mention to you this morning is about, if you check what's going on, you study a little bit other leagues, right? So right now is a mess in the NFL. I don't say it's a mess like the people there or the league, but it's really very hard right now. It's bad. Like you can see the game between, I think, Baltimore and Pittsburgh. It was Thursday night, go to Saturday, now they go to Tuesday, and now they don't have possible right now. Baltimore don't practice today. Look, the Denver Broncos have no quarterback this weekend.
Wow.
3 quarterback out for tests, 1 an injury, and then 2 others for positive for the testing. So now they have to use a wide receiver for quarterback.
I don't know, like, at what point you go, is this really a problem? I mean, how sick are you?
NHL cannot afford to back up too much, but because I believe the COVID is going to increase again for the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe.
It's again, like, are these athletes sick? Are they actually sick, or are they just testing positive?
But whatever is sick is like every time you get positive, you're out for 14 days.
Well, that's the point. Like, it's insane.
But
like,
as the scientific people mention, you have to be out after 7 and then 10 days and then 15 days.
That's bureaucracy. At some point, these organizations can say, you know what, you're in with us. We're not going to expose you to outside world. We're managing it, and they got to make their own decisions. Because now
you bring a good point here. I believe and I could be wrong, but every team should have a doctor on a positive test. Like he's in charge of a positive test, right? And then it's okay. If I don't know why any player make Connor McDavid got positive this morning, Monday morning. So what we do with him, we go to put him on the 72 days hours.
2 hour, yeah.
And then reevaluate him on the basic 24 hours, and then see if really what kind of symptom he has, like and then he can have maybe three degrees or 3 level of symptom, like the guys maybe start at the bottom.
You're hitting it on the head because there's no grading of how sick a person is. Are they asymptomatic? And we're treating them all the same, like they're lepers.
Yeah.
These are elite athletes. There's treatments. This is like, how does it affect if a team gets COVID? The public. If they're not exposed to the public, what do you care?
The second thing I would say to you after that is
they're going to have to make.
I'm pretty sure right now 99%, like everybody's thinking right now at the end of the month, and I'm talking about December, everybody going to be you have an access to vaccination by 3-4 different companies around, where, of course, I'm not going to go to the doctor January 6th. I'm going to get it because I'm just a normal person. But people like that level, right? The NHL, those major sports, they're going to have access to have those kind of vaccination that will maybe push the sport to play, quicker, faster, better. So for me, I believe for the safety, for everything, to be sure that, cancel one game, cancel this, and then restart this, everything like that. I believe they should start on February 1st, drop the 60 game to 48 games right there, and then make the season February, March, April, and then go all the way with the playoff. And they maybe not finish in May or June like usually, maybe push back in July, and then patch back everything else.
What is the difference between what we just played in the playoffs and now? They managed the disease, whatever it was. They managed it. They had 0 positive tests. Now, that was an extreme bubble situation. What's the next step down from that? How do you make it so that it's not an issue? I just don't see the issue is really money. I don't think this is about any disease. I think they know they can manage this. In the end, though, this is about fans in the stands. So
That's
I don't
the thing about that. That's a good point here. I think you bring something like the owners want some people inside the building. Everything like that. The second thing I think is the player does not want to have any bubble like there was before. Now they look. I really believe they work on figure out okay what we try to do. 4 bubbles, 6 bubble, and how we get the schedule. So it's a lot of discussion, but I think the league have to be, they have to take a decision earlier. Like they have to go right now because the player have to be practice. The team have to be back on the ice. They have a training camp. They have holidays coming, and that's right for me. For me, I believe, of course, I would love to have our King January 1st, but I think February 1st would be the right things to do. Reschedule everything, set up now, prepare, and it's Michael. 48 game or 60 game don't change a lot at the end of the day.
Yeah, and in the end, this is about the money, because it's not the NFL, it's not baseball. The fans are not outside. The fans are in a building, and that's part of the problem. Yep. So even if you go to 25% capacity, there's risk. So how much risk do you take on? And let's say they have 0 fans, they need to come up with that scenario, but it's got to affect the players too. And if not, the owners, I bet you lock it out.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, and then you go from the next couple of days. So we thought that. So
it's frustrating to have to worry about it, obviously, but we're all dealing with it. It's just
yeah, we don't have a lot of news around the league. The one thing I mentioned to you is like the Rogers company owns the baseball stadium in Toronto.
It's stupid.
They want to demolish the stadium to rebuild a new one.
They're so stupid. This is the stupidest decision ever. This is an iconic building, and they want to make a smaller building. Why? Because they don't field a competitive team.
I don't know what's like it's.
That's what it is, Pierre. They know they can tear it down, build condos, and a smaller building, fill that building, because the Sky Dome's 55,000 people for baseball, and they got rid of Alex Anthopoulos. They brought in these guys from Cleveland, and nobody wants to watch them. So when they had Paul Beeston and Alex Anthopoulos, they were winning and they were filling that stadium.
I only remember the home run of Joe Carter.
Well, but Pierre, they've been in the playoffs twice in the last 7 years, and they were with Alex Anthopoulos. Anthopoulos is Canadian. He's from Montreal.
Yeah.
He should be the GM. And instead, what they do is they say, oh, you report to Mark Shapiro from Cleveland, who's never won anything. Okay. And Mark Shapiro's got his buddy. They tanked this team, and every single year Anthopoulos was competitive. You want to know how I know? Because he went to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are competitive, and he left the Dodgers, and he's a general manager for the Atlanta Braves, and they're competitive every year. They're in the playoffs. So that was the first mistake. And Paul Beeston and Alex Anthopoulos had that stadium full. Toronto was excited about baseball, but Toronto's had more garbage years in 20 years than not. So
I'm curious about why do you want to build this? Why just demolish this baseball?
They got that stadium for free, Pierre.
One they had to demolish, so he would be better. It's the Olympic Stadium in Montreal.
Well, but that's another mess. But I mean, in the end, the Sky Dome, there's nothing wrong with that building.
I don't think so. That's my point to you. Like before they demolish anything in Canada, they should demolish the one in the stadium, Montreal City. Of
course, they want.
You know what I mean?
I mean, Sky Dome is hardly a problem. What they're looking at is money.
All right. So we are all subject, but today we are back, Michael, of what? Here we go. Michael DeMelo quiz.
Oh no.
Here we go. We are
quiz.
A couple of questions of the NHL flashback history. And we're going to start with you, Michael. right away right now. We have a couple of good ones. This morning you're going to be in. We can't wait to see what is your analyze about those different questions I have for you. First of all, let's start on this date, of course, November 30, and we're going to go year by year, couple of years, and easy one, 2017. This player reached his 1,000 career NHL points. He was with the Vancouver Canucks.
Geez, I don't know. That's a good question. In 2017.
Yep.
Wow, I'm kind of stumped. I mean, because I think the Sedins had 1,000 before that, but maybe not.
You're absolutely right. There was Daniel Sedin.
Wow, that's crazy because I was like trying to do the math on that. Like,
yeah. It was a big, you know what I mean? Like 17, you think about only 3 years already. It's like Sedin is retired. That's amazing.
Right. Yeah, that you would think they would have a lot more points, but they really didn't. And then the beginning of their career, they were like kind of 30, 35 point year guys. They took a while to get going, right?
Yep. I'm going to give you a choice right now, but I don't think so. I'm going to go one. If you know the answer, I will get it. If not, I'll give you 3 players play for the team. In 1988, at Fort Whalers, this player scored his 100th career goal.
In 88?
88. It's an easy one, like, you know.
Jeff Sanderson?
No,
this is before Sanderson.
So I'm going to give you 3 names, right? Ron Francis, Kevin Dineen, or Ray Ferraro.
I find hard any of them, but I'll say Kevin Dineen. It's
Ray Ferraro.
Only his 100th?
He scored his 100th career goal in 1988. Not saying he scored only, but he scored his. He reached the 100 career goal that year.
So he played. I don't know why. I guess that makes sense because I always thought he played predominantly in the 80s. But
yeah,
I mean, he's first of all one of the all-time leading goal scorers in the WHL. Yeah, I guess that makes. I'm surprised that's only his 100th, Pierre.
That's why they did that.
So if you look, he had 11, 31, that's 41, 68, 89. Yeah. I guess so. Wow. Yeah, because he had 40 goals, 21 goals. But I guess that's right. I guess that adds up to 100. That makes sense.
1981 with the Minnesota North Stars. This player scored his 1,000 career NHL point.
In 81?
1991, with the Minnesota North Star, where I believe their jersey was great.
Mike Modano?
No, I think Modano was
too early. 91 would have been too early. Yep. Neil Broughton?
It was a good choice, but is Bobby Smith.
Oh, was he still playing for them then? I guess he was.
Yeah, he got traded after that before
he came back, right?
At Montreal.
So he was like Minnesota, Montreal, Minnesota?
Yeah. Did he win one with Smith win in 93 or 86? I think he's more 86 now, I'm thinking.
Well,
because in 93 was more like Dijon, Town Force, those area players.
Well, he definitely, like, they won the cup when, in 83?
93 and 86.
Oh, yeah, he was definitely 86. 93, he was with Minnesota.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
Because he went Minnesota, Montreal, back to Minnesota.
This one is not an easy one because you have too many of them. But pick this one, you believe it is the one. And 1979, from the New York Islanders, he makes his first game and he scored 2 goals again for the New York Islanders at his first game in 1997.
Wait, 1997?
1979, sorry.
Oh, 79.
Yeah. All right, I'll give you the second one. He's the one member of his 6 brother play in NHL.
Yeah, so I was going to say it was Brent Sutter, but it might be Dwayne.
Yeah, it's Dwayne.
Yeah.
I think Brent was a little bit older, right?
Dwayne, I thought was older, but maybe not. Brent's better.
Yeah, I know that. I'm sure.
Um,
Now, here's what is a very one I did not know that, but we'll see whether you get it. 1954.
yeah, Brent's 2 years younger.
The Chicago Blackhawks and the Montreal Canadiens played a tie game of 3-3. But where? In 1954, they play a game where they don't have any NHL team.
Jesus, I don't. 1954.
Yeah. I did have no clue about that one there. It's a member of the USHL.
Oh my God, I don't know. Bloomington?
Omaha, Nebraska.
Really? Why?
That's why I'm laughing too. Why?
So weird. What the hell brought you to Omaha?
I have no clue.
So
I
weird.
look for more searching letter, but when I see this one, I said, you know what I mean? Like Omaha? Why? Why they play it?
That's so wild. What a weird thing. Oh, you're on mute. Something happened. It says your mic is not connected. Well, while we wait for Pierre, that's got to be the only NHL game ever played in Omaha. And I don't know, 1954, like, I don't even think, would Warren Buffett have been there? I don't know what's going on with Pierre's mic, unfortunately. We'll give him another minute here. If he can't jump on, I'm happy to start going through Winnipeg and maybe buy some time. He's like, come on, it's going to happen. I think Pierre broke his computer. Yeah, I think to Pierre's point, we probably got to start figuring out how we can watch SHL games. Because I think the only hockey that's going on in the world is in the KHL and the SHL. It's a miracle. Like, they're like such heroes that they can continue to play the beloved sport. Well, it looks like Pierre's kind of broken, so maybe we'll give him some time. What I'm going to do is, it's 8:26 here, 11:26 on the East Coast. I'm going to start reviewing the Winnipeg Jets upcoming season, if we have an upcoming season. Oh, Pierre's back. Let's see. I think that solved it. Pierre?
Here we go.
There we go. All right.
No clue what happened. No clue what happened.
So weird.
I'm not done yet because I have two more, maybe three max. But in 1995, the goalie I got it. Grant Fuhr.
Yeah.
Right? I was going to ask you which goalie, but in 1995, Grant Fuhr reached 300 career NHL victories. My question now, I'm going to shift which team?
St. Louis Blues?
Yep, you got it. You got it. And 2005, the Boston Bruins trade the captain Joe Thornton to the San Jose Sharks for who? 3 players.
Wayne Primo, Brad Stewart, what's his name? Marco Sturm.
You got it, my friend. I'll be honest with you. When I see this, I got Sturm right away. It was Primo. I was not sure.
Yeah, the other Primo. Not even the lesser Primo.
I did not know about. I did not remember. One that freight over there. And finally, the last one for you today, and date 1993. Something happening in NHL 1993 on this date on November 30.
1993.
Yeah.
I mean, that's such a random date. I mean, in 93, we know that. So would this have been the 93-94 season, right?
Yep.
I don't know. I want to say Mark Messier went to the Rangers. I'm not
No,
sure.
it was the end of the strike after 15 days.
Oh, the lockout.
Lockout, yeah. It was the Michael DeMelo quiz today.
Right, because it was a 48 game season.
Did very good, Michael, today. Only one bad. Otherwise, it was pretty good. Honestly, did very well on the trade with Joe Thornton. I think that one was a good one. And then, of course, was not easy one with Ray Ferraro.
That was a weird one because it could have been in any of those guys.
It was very hard because my mind was Kevin Denin me.
That's what I thought. I honestly thought that Ferraro would have scored 100 before then.
But again, you said George Sanderson. It was a great answer.
But it's too early, though.
I think it was too early. I agree with you about. But when you think about this, yeah, when you remember our third, you most remember, it's Mike Lute, right?
Yeah.
Yul Samuelson, and then you talk about, Kevin Denning, Ron Francis, Ray Ferraro, and so it was a good one over there for that one over there. And then Grant Fuhr with St. Louis at 95 is thinking really, if you know a little bit of hockey, he got traded after many years of success with the Oilers. So now, great performance again, Michael.
Thank you.
Let's go on with now your Winnipeg Jets.
All right, so we're almost done these, Pierre. Are you sad?
Winnipeg Jets, where we thinking how they are going to trade.
Well, I think the first thing is that we're in like year 8 or 9 of the Maurice Cheveldayoff regime. I think one thing that we'll see when we look through it is they've been very successful in the draft. And I think they're very successful in the stands. They have a very small arena. However, Winnipeg fans are very, very supportive of this team. So it's a credit to the family that brought them back to Winnipeg from their exile in Atlanta. The first thing we see is they're the beneficiary of the Alex Pietrangelo trade in Vegas. They bring back Paul Stastny, who I think Paul's a very good two-way player. He's going to get you some offensive points, and he can play well with guys around him, and he solidifies the second-line center role. We also know that the only player that's probably really out, but's not out per se, is Brian Little, and that's more for injuries. So Brian Little I haven't put him as out, but technically he'll probably be out for the rest of his career personally. But
yeah, I think also if you think about this, I know we're going to go back, but I think it's a good trade because Stastny is UF3 after that.
Yep.
So to guessing $6.5 million for 1 year, when you believe, like you good point, I think Little would be very hard to come back.
No, I think he's done.
So I think it's a really good decision from them.
I think they're definitely a benefactor. And what's crazy is when we look at the cap, they got money left. Somehow. I'm going to reference a trade that happened prior, which is the Jacob Trouba trade. We know Trouba signed what I think is a ridiculous contract. Not totally ridiculous, but pretty expensive for the guy in the Rangers. But what's also interesting to look at is what the Rangers were willing to part with. And they gave up a defenseman named Neil Pionk and a first-round pick that ends up being Heinola. Both of these guys might be better than Trouba. Like, Pionk has 45 points last year. And we know Trouba went from 50 points down to like 25 or 28 with the Rangers. And then you got this prospect that looks like he's ready to play in the NHL, this Finnish defenseman, Heinola. So I think Winnipeg totally won that trade. There's continuous talk about moving Patrik Laine. I don't know how much pressure they really should be under, but I think it might be more of his unhappiness with playing second line minutes. Now, hopefully the Stastny reunion helps him out. He's very talented. He's a big man. He's 6'5". He can score goals. So if you like Alex Ovechkin, why don't you like Patrik Laine? He's a very intriguing prospect. But what we have seen is from that draft class of Finnish stars, like Puljujärvi, Laine, Aho, Rantanen. Maybe Puljujärvi's been the guy that hasn't really come around, and Patrik Laine has been kind of maligned. So it's kind of weird. He's a young guy that scored a lot of goals already in the NHL, and he can score a lot more. And when he's not scoring goals, it's not by very much. It's more about him being in his head. Now, he's kind of like a one-dimensional player, but you could see they're going to probably want to move him. It's kind of crazy. So what they should get for him, probably a defenseman if they can. They arguably have one of the top 3 goalies in the NHL. I really like Connor Hellebuyck. The guy that's not on here that should probably be mentioned is Kyle Connor. They have Mark Scheifele. They have Blake Wheeler. They have Nikolai Ehlers, who's another guy they've constantly talked about moving, but I don't see why you would move any of those guys. They have a lot of offense, a lot of talent. They got size. They even have second and third line that's kind of interesting and can contribute offensively. The defense would benefit from another player. Let's look at what they did in the draft. Now they got Christian Vesalainen. He looks like he can play top 9, maybe top 6. Logan Stanley is Tyler Myers 2.0. Like, we know this kid from the World Juniors. He's a monster defenseman, and he looks like he's not very far off from playing in the NHL. And then they draft Cole Perfetti. So conceivably, to your point, the Stastny contract expires. They either get him at a more favorable number and keep him there, or Cole Perfetti is not very far off. Considered probably the smartest player in the draft. Might want to work on his skating a little bit. His hockey IQ is like an 11. Like, the guy is like another level. So they have a bright future with Cole Perfetti. If you look at just the projected lines, I mean, just on forward alone, they have enviable firepower. Kyle Connor is a perpetual 30-goal scorer that was picked in the middle to late part of the first round. Mark Scheifele was a shocker to a lot of people when he was drafted as high as he was by Winnipeg, but it turns out they were very correct, as they now have probably a top 10 centerman in the NHL. Blake Wheeler, he's been a phenomenal player through his career. He's 6'5", can skate, got lots of talent, and he's a great leader. Patrik Laine, they keep talking about moving him, but if you look at the goals this guy scored, there's very few players that have the capability of the offense that he is. They bring in Paul Stastny, who's an excellent two-way player, maybe not the highest end offensive player and not the most creative, but he's definitely not going to hurt anybody on that line. He's actually probably going to anchor these two pretty talented players. And then Nikolai Ehlers, which I think is like a clone of William Nylander in a lot of ways in Toronto, very high offensive talent. And if he can kind of prevent himself from being a terrible defensive player, he's really effective. They've kind of lined up these lines the way they have here. I think that probably switches around a little bit. You've got to think Perreault and Roslovic are more on the third line. Perreault's capable of – he's a very creative offensive player. He's a veteran NHL player. Adam Lowry's shown that he can play big minutes as a third-line center and contribute offensively. He's tough. And then you've got Jack Roslovic, who, frankly, if you're looking for a risk – to take a risk on a guy that you think, hey, can this guy be my second-line center – there's a lot of teams in the NHL that think he might be a second-line center. He came from the U.S. development program, played with Austin Matthews in that group, and he's a talented player, big player that he's not super creative, but he's got some offensive ability.
The only thing he didn't sign yet is still an RFA, and Winnipeg have only $600,000 right now. So that's something, yeah.
Well, yeah, let's look at the cap in a second. So we know they traded at the end of the year for Dylan DeMelo. He's not really an offensive defenseman, but he's not going to hurt you. Josh Morrissey, we know, is kind of like a number one defenseman here in Winnipeg.
That's a red flag for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, Morrissey's better as a number 2 or number 3 personally, but they really love him. And he's a good defenseman when you watch him. He's got offensive abilities. He's not a prototypical big body defenseman, and he's an above average skater. I don't know if he's like a super elite skater, but he is smart. I think he's not really, to me, an ideal number 1, but that's their number 1. Neil Pionk has worked out very well. He's continued to improve offensively. They totally won the Trouba trade. We know that they have Nathan Beaulieu, but Beaulieu, to me, I thought was on the way out. I think this is a weird stopgap. Derek Forbot, I mean, he played top minutes in LA when he was healthy with Drew Doughty, but he's not really that level. I mean, I just don't see that. So I think a 5-6 for him, maybe 7 is more realistic. Tucker Poolman's pretty decent. In addition to this, the two that you've got to look at are Sami Niku, who I think will probably play ahead of Boyo. Boyo's tough and strong, and he's got a little bit of offensive ability, but there's something weird there that's off. I think Niku, what's that?
Spiesba or something like that. Another defenseman. He's not.
Lucas Spiza is a veteran defenseman, Swiss-born guy. He's solid. And then I think then the guy to really look out for is Vesalaien and Logan Stanley. So these are players that, when you look at it, they probably have some depth there. Not a lot of guarantees, but you've got some young guys like Niku looks like he can play top 4 minutes. He's a very good skater. He's got offensive ability. Not a big guy, but he's gritty enough that he'll play well one-on-one with an active stick. Vesalaien looks like he could be a number 3 or a number 2 in the NHL. So we're going to see. And then Logan Stanley could be a wild card. Like, he looks like big man, can skate really well. Not sure he's going to get much offense, but he can skate. Like, he's a decent skater, and he's a big guy. Like, I think he's 6'8" or something. Like, he's a huge guy. If we look at the cap situation, which you were referencing, pretty favorable overall. So if you look at, let's see if we can see this a little better here. It's not zooming. There we go. There we go. So we see Blake Wheeler as our top forward at 8.25, totally justified. He's 34 now. So he's getting up there, but he still looks like he hasn't lost a step, and he's still their leader, their captain, and he plays like a captain. Kyle Connor, I mean, has this guy got 4 30-goal seasons in a row or 3? Like, he's a legitimate 23-year-old. Like, it's crazy. So he's totally deserving a 7.1. Patrik Laine, they're not a huge fan of, but in the end, this guy can score 40 goals. But we do know he's coming up for restricted free agency, and just based upon his history, he's going to be looking for big money. Paul Stastny, 1 year at 6.5 is not bad. He is 34. He'll fill a spot and give them a legitimate shot to go far in the playoffs, maybe. Mark Scheifele is an absolute steal at 6.1, and he's got 4 years left on that contract. So that'll take him to 31, 32. He's a legitimate top 10 NHL centerman. Like, he's a big guy. He's got lots of skill, and he produces big offensive numbers. Nikolai Ehlers, he's got a very similar contract to William Nylander, and he's a very similar player. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years at $6 million for a guy that's capable of getting 25, 30 goals is pretty good.
Yep.
Perreault, 32 now, 4.1. He's probably going to expire, and they'll figure out a way to replace him. And he'll probably be done there unless he signs a much smaller contract. And I think the same will be for Stastny. But then because we know we've got Jack Roslovic, who's a restricted free agent, probably gets a smaller deal. But, if he continues to develop the way he is, then maybe he's capable of taking over one of those roles. The other guy, he's probably capable of taking a third-line role right now. The other guy that's in the wings is obviously their draft pick, Cole Perfetti. So that's very intriguing because you've got to project at some point as a number 1 center in the NHL, but at the very least for a few years, he could be a number 2. Not bad. And he'll be on an entry-level deal. So he signs his entry-level deal. Adam Lowry at 2.9 is a little high, but he's a tough player, can play third-line minutes, kills penalties, and he can score a little bit.
Again, he's a UFA next year, so it's the one he's not going to get more $2.5 million. I think he's at $2 million, a little bit like Coop is. And I think they are in good position. I think they are in good position for following year. Overall,
they're in pretty good shape, right?
Yep.
Josh, now this is where they need upgrades, in my opinion. 6.2 for Maurice is not bad. He's 25. He plays top-line minutes. He wears an A. He's on the power play. He's a good offensive left-shot defenseman. He can skate pretty well, above average. To me, he's not an ideal number 1. Feels like more like kind of a 1B or a 2. Dylan DeMelo, he's $3 million, so it's pretty reasonable, but I don't know. Like, he's not going to get you any offense. He's got a no movement, or at least a modified no movement clause, but he's not going to hurt you. Neil Pionk has shown, this guy can put up points. He had 45 points last year. So I think they won the Trouba trade. I don't love Nathan Boyo, but he's cheap at 1.25 for 2 more years. Derek Forbot for $1 million is fine for a year. Spiza, you referenced, he's a veteran kind of 6'7" type defenseman. He'll be in and out, and he'll be gone. Tucker Poolman, we'll see what he is, right? Like he's in the mix, but
That's what the problem they are. That's what they're missing at defense number 4.
I think so.
Yep.
I mean, losing Dustin Byfuglien really hurt. I don't think Trouba was ever going to be that guy. And they made that same assessment. And I think they're probably right. They have 2 defensemen that should be on their roster this year, and Heinola, who they drafted with a first-round pick. And then we already know that Neil Pionk is a 40, 45-point defenseman. Like, you can't ask for much more from Neil Pionk. So on top of this, they have an elite goaltender in Connor Hellebuyck, who's on a very favorable contract. Like, he's got 4 years at 6.16. Like, there's a lot to like there. Warsaw, he had a good year last year, so he might be a little high at 1.5, but it's not like he's capable of putting up good numbers he showed last year. So he's developed. So I think they're in great shape for the most part. I would love to see if they do move a Patrik Laine to bring back a top-notch defenseman would be great. Now, it might be tough given they're in Winnipeg, and they got to find a guy that's willing to go there.
I don't think so. I think for right now they should keep Laine. They should sign maybe a UFA defenseman at $2.5 million.
Maybe.
And give away, let it go, one of the forward and one the third 4 line, maybe Andrew Coop, maybe.
There's money there to get rid of, right? Like if they get rid of the Cop trick, like the Cop contract's kind of high. Even the Lowry contract is fine, but it's not perfect.
The best way to get it go right now, it would be really Perreault, right? But again, I don't know who can get him. But I think Perreault at 4.1 is a little bit too high. So they can retrieve that money, and then they can trade one or give away one of the 4 defensemen you have at the bottom. They get an extra $1 million. So they can play about $5 million. They can sign Harmonic, they can sign Vanetin. They can sign that kind of players where they pick up their 4. This team is going to be really dangerous again.
I think so. I think if they can come up with a way to come up with a top 2 defenseman, it'll go very far with this team. They've gotten – I mean, I thought last year after they made the Trouba deal, they saw Tyler Myers leave. Like, they had a lot of defensemen leave. Byfuglien was gone. I was like, God, this is going to be the worst defense in the NHL. But they weren't. Now, they have a goaltender that bails them out. Like, he's an elite goaltender, because he faces a lot of shots he normally wouldn't face, and he's still in every game. That being said, one more defenseman will go very, very far on this team.
No, maybe you have to tell me a little bit more, maybe because you know more to the young kids. Do you believe Heinola, he is the answer what we look talking about?
I think he's a number 3. But he could be number 2.
Right now, we don't have no problem there. He just let him play.
Yeah, I that's what I think they're thinking. He's playing right now, right, in the KHL, I believe, or is he in Finland? I can't remember.
For Luko, he have already 14 points and 18 games.
This is why, like, that's it. He's in. So is that the Swiss league?
Liga. No, it's a Liga.
Oh, is Finland.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we know that's a little bit weaker league, but he's 5'11". He can skate really well. He's got a little bit of edge to him. He feels like Josh Morrissey. Like, you're like, he's really good. To get him back along with Pionk from the Trouba trade is going to save their bacon. If Logan Stanley,
why are you going to compare to Morrissey? Morrissey is not an offensive player.
Well, I don't know if Ville will end up being a high-end offensive player. I mean, Morrissey, what did he get last year? Did he have
30 points for the last 2 years?
30 points in 60 games. I think that's realistically, he's a puck mover. He's not a high-producing offensive guy, and I think that's what Heinola will be. He's a puck-moving guy. He's not going to get you big goals, but he's going to get the puck out of your zone, and he's going to keep it in the offensive zone.
So let me turn my question to you.
Yeah.
Right? So if I ask you about Heinola,
yeah,
is it better to Pullman?
Oh, he's better than Tucker Poolman.
All right. Is it better to Luka Spisa?
For sure.
Is it better to Derek Forward?
Yeah, but that's why I was saying before, if you look at like,
So now the number 4 is Nathan Beaulieu. Do you go with Beaulieu or you go with?
no, he's better than Boyo. We know what Boyo is. Like,
So my point to you,
they're gonna play him below.
all my question earlier about the defense number 4. Maybe they have it.
No, I think it's just time, right?
Good point.
The question is, he's 19.
Yep.
Is it now or a year from now? But that's it. It's not far off because he looks like he could play now. So to me, you throw in Logan Stanley, that mix. We know we got Spiza in there, but Spiza's a stopgap, right? In the end, the future is Pullman and Forbot. Forbot goes away. Pullman moves down. Nico and Heinola jump up. Probably Nico on the third pairing and Heinola on the second. And then you make a decision on DeMelo, but I think you can still upgrade that D. You need another D. I don't know. DeMelo, do you want DeMelo playing top 4 minutes? That's the question.
Well, I think on that one right there, I think it's more Maurice Pionk, and then DeMelo, Heinola, and then you have Beaulieu, Faubert, and the rest at the bottom there.
Maybe.
I think if you look about this with Heinola, I think you look for a Jody Ben, an experienced guy, 34, 33, play 600, 700 game, and play house, more defensive, and he's physical. And, I just talked about Jody Ben, but yeah, many players in NHL that kind of level where it's defense number 5 or 6, and then fix that what maybe they don't have as some friend nights, not every night. Remember, it's going to be a hard schedule next year. 2 game and 3 nights, 3 game and 4 nights.
Right.
What believe could be another direction. I think the manager, GM, could make some level decision.
So here's what my thought is, and I don't know if this is Winnipeg's thought. This is kind of like the year that they're going to do it or not. So you either go all in and you get a rental top D that can help out for a season and give them a push, because Wheeler's going to be 35. Scheifele's going to be, 29. You don't know if you're going to have Patrik Laine after this. You're going to lose Stastny. You're going to lose Perreault. So you're going to lose some depth. So yes, guys will come up and they'll be competitive. But if they're going to make a run at it, it's not going to get better after this year.
Do you believe Ventanen can accept 2.5 million?
Totally. Ventanen would be a perfect fit on this team.
I think so too.
Yeah, but the problem with Vatanen is always the injury thing. Like he's always hurt. So that's the only problem there. But you might be able to say like, hey, let's be cautious with him. But I don't know how you do that. I think, and I don't know if there's any teams that are looking to move D. It just depends. Is it a long-term D or a short-term D? Is there a guy like
right there?
Do they make a move at the end of the season with Detroit to get a Mark Stahl? Do they they give up a third or something and they take Stahl and, he wants a run. Someone like that can come in, provide some leadership. You're not looking long-term. Their contract's up, but they can chew up some minutes and help them get over the hump and maybe have a bit of a playoff run. Because, you've got a world-class goalie, you've got a world-class centerman, you've got a world-class set of wingers. You don't have world-class D. But you're probably not far, from being really, we've seen in Tampa, they need that Hedman guy, even, and Sergachev, right? Like, how do they stack up? They don't, so.
Yeah. It's just then, like you said, the last 3 years, he played 66% of all the games.
That's the problem with Vatanen.
Yep.
So I think that's why if I'm in this situation, let's look for a second also at Laine. I don't know how you find a guy that scores 138 goals in his first 5 NHL seasons. Now they did. His name is Kyle Connor. So Kyle Connor, very similar, crazy numbers, right?
Well, I think they're doing well. I think they are well managed, well coached,
Absolutely.
Well played over there, good talent, good skill, not big contract. They don't have any contract over $9 million. I flew a little red flag left and right, but not major.
It's not
I
major.
think that team is a good direction. If you talk about that, Kyle Corner, you talk about this, you talk about Laine, you talk about Wheeler, you talk about Sheffield. And I think their thing is maybe missing a solid defenseman
I agree.
or a top four right there to finalize. Great top goalie in NHL at
He's so
$6.4 million for 5 years. This team is healthy, is a good, well structured, organized. And then you mentioned earlier, we did not talk too much, but they got now Perfetti last year. They just draft him in October last couple of months ago, where Perfetti can become one a solid defenseman. We did not talk again about David Gustafsson. We did not talk about Vesalaien, another draft pick playing Sweden League.
Even Dylan Sandberg might play.
And I think that the
they've done a great job drafting though overall.
I think the card we don't talk this morning a lot because he's not signed yet. Our RFA, he remind me a lot Joel Armia. Is really Jack Roslovic.
I agree with that. That's a good comparison. I think that they'll sign him to a favorable deal, but he's capable of more. I mean, he's capable of taking on more responsibility. Whether they let him or not is the question. I think teams are looking at him again as if I'm in a team and I have a hole in my second line, like if I'm Ottawa, I go, man, he would fit really well in my second line. Like, he's better than the guys we got.
He would play well in Detroit.
And Detroit's added a lot of depth, but that's what I thought before. Like, this would be a great player for Detroit. I don't know if he's the high skill level like Detroit likes, but
maybe he is a 1 year close what Virtanen did with Vancouver.
Right. I like that. That makes a lot of sense to me. But look at how this team was built. I mean, if you go back, starting with the Scheifele was the first pick, I think, for Cheveldayoff in 2011. He got Cheveldayoff, or he got Lowry and Scheifele. The next draft, he gets Hellebuyck, he gets Trouba. And then, he's got Maurice. Petan is playing in Toronto, so he's capable. Andrew Kopp. Comrie, is kind of like a third goaltender somewhere. Tucker Pullman. So they're developing their players and they're coming through. And then you look at the next year, yes, it's only Ehlers, but they didn't have a second-round pick. Chase DeLeo, we know he's had a little cup of coffee, but he's not going to play.
But still, they got the one. They didn't make mistake.
Didn't make mistakes. And these are not, they're early-ish, but it's not like they're getting a first overall pick. When they do get a first overall pick, okay, well, let's look at number 17 here. Like, holy crow, you got Kyle Connor and Jack Roslovic in the same draft, and Sami Niku. And actually, I'm surprised Spacek's not playing because I thought that he was going to make it, but that didn't really work out. And then the next year, you do get a second overall pick and you take Laine, and he's produced. And Logan Stanley looks like he might be able to play. And then, they're waiting, to your point, on Vesalaien, but he looks like he's ready. And then, I totally forgot about Gustafsson, but he played a little bit already. And then you got Heinola, who they got in the other deal, and then Perfetti is like a total scorer. So they've done a very good job. They've totally built this team through the draft, which is pretty impressive. And then when they've had trades, they've won them.
I agree with you. He did very well. You know what I mean? Like you talk about in 18, they don't have anybody, no draft first round pick. So, and they still pick a second round, like 60 overall. David Gustafsson, he's already playing NHL.
Yeah.
And, right now, he has 17 points in 16 games in Sweden, Division 1 right now. So I think he's another player. He's very close to NHL right there. So I'll be honest with you. So we are like team number 30, Michael, at the 31 in NHL. I always said to you, Winnipeg's maybe the best top 5, maybe top 3 on drafting.
For sure.
Right?
I think the question is, it really hurts losing a Dustin Byfuglien.
Of course, yeah. But at the end of the day, like this.
How do you fix that? Because
it's really successful year after year.
They're an amazing draft. Like they're one of the best. I agree with you. They're one of the best evaluators of talent. However, they have some assets that are going to age out. Like, if you're really aggressive, I would be super aggressive this season. If you know you're going to play, if there's going to be a season, you're like, what's the move or what's the two moves that put me over the top so I'm in the top third of the league? Because right now they're kind of like on the edge, you know, like they need help on the back end. And if they can figure that out and not just, you know, stick another guy back there, because I think relying on the two Finns is going to be tricky. And Logan Stanley, you know, he hasn't played any games yet. So I think if they're really smart, they make a move to take some salary or something, or they move a line in and they pick up two guys that can contribute right away, like do a Trouba type move. Then great, you know. But that's the trick. So they're not very far off because the other pieces are awesome.
It's amazing me because you think about this, I will give you. Do you really know Pete Raschuk?
Pete Raschuk.
So Mark Ilyer, Evesny Bogdanovich, Mark Thompson, they are all those people in charge about the scouting over there.
Oh, and you're saying not players, scouts.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the scouts are the unsung heroes, right? I mean,
yeah, but it's really amazing when you see that what they are really. And then a players director is Jimmy Roy, Mike Keane, and so he's in charge about that. And then you have the goalie staff, like, you know, one thing to do well in Winnipeg, because my buddy is coach over there, the head coach, Pascal Vincent. And Pascal Vincent is there for over 6 years now.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. So that gives you an idea how they are really take care about their personal.
They do. They keep like tenure. How long has Maurice been there?
Oh, my God. Many years. And then you have Jimmy Compton. He's assistant coach for many years, maybe the best assistant coach in NHL. I can do that. And then he just lost, what's the brother? Todd Woodcroft.
Oh, James Woodcroft, yeah.
Okay, his brother is Todd. And
yeah.
he just left for head coach for the Vermont Cottonmouth. So he left because of that part. But you have Charlie Audi as assistant coach, and now they have the goalie coach, Wet Flaherty, for the Winnipeg. So, you know what I mean? Like it's really, I'll be honest with you, it's a really strong organization. I'll be honest with you. I'm really impressed for what they are accomplished already. And, you know what I mean? You cannot, like you said, they are really well developed, their players and everything. And then I think they are one of the top 5 best organizations in hockey right now on my side.
Overall, I mean, I feel like they've indexed highly on forwards and under-indexed on D a little bit. But they have a great goalie, so they get away with it. But in the end, they need to figure out something short-term.
They are close, Mike, to
be so close. And I don't know if they have that killer instinct to take it to the next level. Now,
what happened now, I believe, is 2 things. We need to see what Peter Stastny is going to be inside that team this year. And then Roslav Vic could be one, but nobody expect now. If they trade Patrik Laine, they get at least 3 players. And they have to figure out 40 goals for the 3 players or a 25 goal at least, plus a great, solid top 2 defensemen.
Yep.
And now, you know, and you have to be careful.
I like the Vodman move. You know, I think there's risk, obviously, but I do like the Vodman idea. He would fit very well.
Now, I know you maybe kill me, but if I said to you, I trade Patrik Laine for Carolina for Doug Hamilton and Tiro
Teravainen?
Yeah.
That's never going to happen. Teravainen's considered better than Laine by Carolina, I would think. But Doug Hamilton has been talked about 1-for-1. And I think
it's not good enough.
I mean, you're talking about a 55, 60-point defenseman. They both have, you know, the problem with Dougie Hamilton is personality. But he's got a little bit of a personality that may fit in Winnipeg.
I would never do that.
because I'm not saying I would do it, but I think that there's
Mike, he
definitely
never crossed the 50 points.
who?
Hamilton.
What?
He has only scored a lot. 12, 10, 12, 13, 17, 18, 14. We have no assists. Like
Yeah,
at 40
okay, so like he's a consistent 12 to 15 goal scoring defense. Actually, and look at last year, he had 40 points in 47 games, 39 the year before, 44, 50, 43, 42. He's offensively what they need. He's
I
a
agree with you, but I would say to you is he cannot trade 1-to-1 on that one.
But you got to think about this too: is the contract that Laine is seeking is going to be 9-10 million. And they don't think he's worth that because he's like a one-dimensional player in their mind. I don't know if that's true because I think he's probably better playmaker than they give him credit for. But, he knows his role and he likes to score goals.
Do you trade him, Dougie Hamilton, with Warren Foegele for Patrik Laine?
It seems like a lot.
I don't think so.
Yeah, Foegele is... I think Fogel's a secret. But I think that's doable. I think somebody might... I think Carolina might say, you know what? Take Warren Foegele and Dougie Hamilton. We have enough D.
But you're right at one thing about that.
Put Aho with Laine, and you've got, imagine Aho back with Laine.
Now, the problem you get is, like you mentioned, is the contract of
that's the problem.
Money you're going to give to Laine versus what you have in your team, and that's maybe unbalanced there. So he has to go with a team where the team can open up, can afford.
I agree. That's not an unrealistic thing. They're definitely not going to trade Teravainen, they consider...
I agree with you about that one over there. I was trying to type players left and right in my head.
It will make sense. And honestly, Winnipeg would win that deal. If Winnipeg got Foegele and Hamilton, they win that deal. Because Foegele is very, very talented, and people don't realize that. And he's got good size. He's got high skill level.
You get a solid, I believe, maybe not this year, but you get right now a solid winger top 6 in the left side.
Yeah, underrated. He's
yeah.
You watch him, you're like, this guy's got moves. He's not afraid to make them any strong.
Yep.
He's in a just above average skater, but what he does with the puck, he's very skilled.
I agree with you. Great analogy. It's fun to talk about this like this, right? So I think it's very good. And we passed the hour, so it was a really great show. We talk about Winnipeg Jets. Well, sometimes we stay longer because we just have a passion about Sventina. Yeah. Winnipeg is the one we are, and that exercise, Michael, how many times you hear me all the time. I love to do those exercises because we go that deep.
Yeah,
we don't know really, because we just look, team by team and game by game score. The stats left and right, but we don't go that deep like we do with contract and the draft players and what's coming for the next 2-3 years, everything like that. So I think it's really great to become more knowledge about fun team in NHL. I think that's great to do that. It's something to consider. That's another great show. And then we're going to finish the 31-31 tomorrow with the biggest night, where it's another powerhouse team in the NHL with your buddy Alex Predigello. So I can wait to hear from you about him, but also about what's next for Vegas. I think this other team is really close. Miss maybe one thing, two things, but there's maybe the top 5. They are the top 5 powerhouse in the NHL for the upcoming season. Maybe one of the win the Stanley Cup with maybe Colorado and Tampa again repeat. And but that would be very interesting to talk about this. I would be curious about the draft situation and what they have in the house and the back, because trade a couple of players like Suzuki, that's a one right there.
I mean, the amount of young talent they've given up is scary. However, they've kept Cody Glass. And if Cody Glass is healthy, you've got a second line center next year.
Remember, it was a trade when Montreal asked for him, and they gave them
Suzuki,
where maybe could be turned to be maybe better for Montreal at the end of the day.
So they have two players. We'll talk about it tomorrow, obviously, but if you look, they still have Nicholas Hague. They still have Cody Glass. They've got Peyton Krebs.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, we're all right. We're doing okay over here, right? Like, those are three really great players that are probably ready to go.
That's exactly. So, pretty good. Great show again, everybody. Thanks again, Hockey Nation, to be around with us every single day. We just remind everybody we are here Monday to Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern Time, with our co-host, Michael DeMelo. Of course, your host, Coach Friendship on the boat. Have an amazing Monday, everybody. See you tomorrow.